I would like to invite Mr. Arnaud Bosch, who is a tourism consultant at DALEV and a specialist in tourism strategies, destination management, and stakeholder engagement. And so you can introduce the panelists.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the panel discussion Beyond Sustainability, Regeneration and Biodiversity. I will invite the panelists to join me at the stage. First, Blanca Cros, Director of Sustainability and Tourism Transformations at the Catalan Tourist Board and representing the project Regenerative format. Silvia Maria Carolo, you can join us in the stage. Silvia Maria Carolo is a consultant and tourism researcher and working for the Veneto region, representing the Med4 Region project. Rafael Fernandez from the Andalusian Agency for Agricultural and Fisheries Management, representing the project Jayas. And last but not least, Beatrice Briguglio, and I apologize for the mispronunciation, tourism counselor at the city of Taormina. Thank you for joining us today. So yeah, for many years, sustainability has been a common name in tourism. It has been like trying to minimize the impact of tourism in the destinations. And even if this remains a relevant topic today, we are incorporating the new paradigm of regenerative tourism that we've been already hearing during the morning. Regenerative tourism aims to go one step further, and instead of only reducing harm, to say it in this way, it seeks to contribute positively to the places it takes place. It tries to answer questions such as, can tourism restore ecosystems? Or can it strengthen communities and local knowledge? Can also tourism improve relationship between hosts and guests? And also, could it contribute to the long-term resilience of the territories? All these questions are really relevant in the Mediterranean because it's a region where tourism is really linked to fragile ecosystems, agricultural practices, biodiversity, cultural heritage, and identity. So today our four panelists will share their views and experiences into this topic of regenerative tourism from four different angles, representing the four European projects that we just mentioned. The idea is to follow from an abstract and philosophical approach to a more practical one. So I will ask you to first tackle how regeneration is adding into sustainability, then practical experiences or early results of the implementations of these European projects, and finally some challenges that you have come up with during the implementation. So let's start with Blanca. You can use this first intervention to also present yourself a bit more if you want and tackle a bit the different points, but it's going to be more broad, and then we will delve deeper into each of the topics. So Blanca, from a destination management perspective, what does regeneration add when biodiversity is central, and what is one concrete regenerative format practice, tool, pilot learning that could help destinations in the Mediterranean to move into that direction?
Well, thank you, Arnaud. I think when we are talking about regenerative tourism, we have to be aware of the concept of regeneration. This has been a challenge in our project, is the Regenerative format since the very beginning, because talking about regenerative in tourism is really is something that we have to be very careful and delicate how we treat this concept. So when we start the project, even our partners of the project, everybody was very concerned about the concept of regeneration. So what we start to do, because most of us are regions and are destinations management organizations that are in the project as well. So we were very aware because in the Mediterranean, we have a model of tourism, as you know, that it was more focused sun and beach, mass tourism. Of course, there are other trends of tourism, but how in the Mediterranean, in our mature destinations, we are going to implement and we are going to develop regeneration experiences and activities. So that was the challenge. And we start with working with different experts, mundial experts, as Anna Pollock, with other persons very relevant, to really understand the concept. Once we understand the concept that it goes, as Arnaud said, beyond sustainability, we've very well understood that the destination should be sustainable, first sustainable. If destinations are not sustainable, they are not going to move forward, they are not going to be regenerative, they have to be first sustainable. And this is the work that all we have to do in our destinations to work for the sustainability, for then, if we can, if the place want, if the local destination want, or they want to regenerative, then they can move to regenerative. I say this because just to start from regeneration from the very beginning, it's going to be very difficult. So you have to do step by step. And in our case, in this process, we create a tool that is the self-assessment tool, is our travel to regeneration to understand if this tool is open, is in the website of the Regenerative format, is open to everybody. You can go use this tool. It takes 20 minutes, I tell you the truth, it's not easy, but it makes how you, as a person, because it is very important, the conscious of the people who are working for regenerative and the conscious of the place to really reach the regenerative, because it's systematic. I mean, tourism, we cannot be treated as a part. It has to be in a whole. So in a whole, it means people, it means environmental, it means the community, it means the nature, it means everything related to the place. So in that case, this tool helps the person who is in that organization or who is just a resident of that place or just a person working for the administration, how, as a person, where has the focus of what to understand as regenerative. It is important because when you start to work for regenerative, your mind is like a change of your mind. You see the world, you have to see in another eyes to understand what means regenerative. So this tool, I think I invite everybody to fill in this tool and so you will see. I don't know if you want me, because maybe I talk too much.
Thank you. I think it's a really relevant tool and I really like the fact that you are emphasizing on that first we have to investigate to understand what regeneration means, and it's important that you collaborate with academics that have been working on this for
just one more thing. We have we have done a research about all this, about regenerative tourism, and all this information is also the blueprint. Sorry, everything is also on the website. You can consult, and also we've done guidelines of the principles of regenerative tourism. That is a document very short, very easy to make people to understand what is regenerative tourism. And this will be next week on the website, not today. We wanted to for today, but we need to finish some point.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we'll inform
the audience as well. Thank you, Blanca. Let's move to Sylvia. So, Sylvia, from the Med for Regen perspective, so places, museums, and cultural institutions are at the center of this tourism transformation. So how can these institutions help visitors and destinations to reconnect with places, with biodiversity, heritage, and local communities?
Thanks, Arnaud. So first of all, I represent Veneto region, and in particular the Department of Cultural Heritage Activities. So starting from that, we can say that we place culture and cultural change in tourism at the very core of our project. So we're not the tourist department, but we are a cultural department. So this is a very essential element that characterizes our project. So the tourism transformation for us is, first of all, a cultural transformation and a cultural change that we would like to achieve in tourism. So our understanding of regenerative tourism is a cultural process able to regenerate the communities, make them able to have a role in the development of tourism plans and strategies at local level. So if we regenerate communities, we can regenerate the relationships between communities and visitors and tourists of the destination in which communities live, work, and operate. So in this process, we place culture at the center, and we we identify the role of museums as central in that. We consider that museums can leverage on the cultural resources of local areas and of communities, not just because they are part of the value chain of tourism sector, but because they have, for their nature, they are addressed to communities, they can tell about communities, they have a potential to create new ways to work with the communities for tourism at local level. So we conceive them as drivers of regeneration. And when we imagined the Med for Region project, that was 2 years ago, we had clear in mind the last definition of ICOM, International Council of Museums, from 2022, when for the first time was introduced a new function for museums in our society to be committed towards sustainability and the participation of communities. So having this clear in mind, we have a clear connection between what museums can give to regeneration of tourism and what, on the other side, the regeneration values can give to museums. So this was our big dream and our big mission. So in terms of results and actions that we are implementing, we are now in the phase of capacity building. So for us was first of all very important to give museums and heritage organizations the capacities and the skills to work with local communities for tourism. So now we are doing this in our 8 territories, and we also drafted a strategy, the Med for Region strategies, in which museums, we have 8 associated museums and cultural organizations have a very important role. So just to anticipate what will emerge later on the discussion, we consider museums and heritage organizations as crucial players in the strategy development of a destination.
Yeah, really interesting. It seems that culture doesn't operate on its own, but it affects the governance of tourism destinations, so that's really relevant as well. Thank you so much, Silvia. Let's move to Rafael. So you have a bit of advantage because they presented your project in the framework of the paper just before. So from the MedGIS perspective, how can tourism support the dynamic conservation of agricultural heritage systems?
Well, thank you, Arnau, and thank you for inviting us to be here. First of all, I would like to say that MedGIS is a project that has already finished. We finished at the end of 2025. And we are now trying to get the most of the outcomes and to get the most of the results, trying to raise awareness. And I have to say that when we faced this issue that is happening in agricultural territories that are considered as agricultural heritage, we have to take in mind that we have a specific niche within the project, which are agricultural territories that has been recognized as globally important agricultural heritage system, which are which GIS is the acronym in English, that are recognized by FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, as agricultural heritage. It's equivalent to the UNESCO recognition, but it's quite different. I say it's equivalent because it's a recognition of a traditional heritage, but it's not the same. We are not speaking about agricultural territories that are open-air museums or has to be conserved in a static way. They are living systems. That is the key issue. They are living systems where we have a holistic view from the agricultural productions, the farmers who take care of the soil and the crop, the biodiversity related to that, the nature in the surroundings, the local communities living there, the arts and crafts developed during centuries, the technical the techniques that have been developing during years in order to adapt to the changes that have been occurring during centuries. And we have to take in mind that these territories are very endangered. They are kind of familiar agriculture, traditional agriculture, and they have a lot of challenges. They are very endangered because of lack of generational relief, low profitability of the productions, the people will go abroad to work in other activities, maybe more profitable, and we need to develop a dynamic conservation of these places. Within this dynamic conservation, we include also the tourism that can contribute to provide economic support to these communities. I don't say the farmers because, as I said before, it's a community. They are living villages. So we don't see, or we just not see the tourism as sustainable. Of course, I agree with Blanca, what she said. Tourism has to be sustainable in any way. We have to be sustainable in our everyday life. Everything has to be sustainable nowadays. Tourism has to be sustainable. But we found that not only sustainable in order to help these kind of communities to still keep living, because if they die, productions die, biodiversity die, the unique landscapes, cultural landscape that they have maybe disappear. So we need a tourism that can contribute economically or even psychologically to maintain, to keep them alive. So we didn't use the regenerative tourism as a concept in the beginning of the project. We found it during the development. We don't just need the sustainable tourism. We need a regenerative tourism. So within the project, we have developed, co-creating with the territory, some tools and initiatives in order to have a regenerative tourism that can contribute to keep them alive, which is the main issue. So for us, regenerative tourism now is a key point in order to keep going with this kind of agricultural systems.
Thank you, Rafael. I think it's really crucial because at the end, the word regenerative came from the agricultural sector in the beginning, so tourism joined after.
That's right.
And I think that's the most important point to take into account when we think about regeneration. Thank you so much. Okay, so Beatrice, could you please help us with the Inspire project and put your insights into the table? Inspire connects agrobiodiversity conservation with sustainable and experiential tourism. In a destination such as Taormina, how can local biodiversity and food culture become regenerative visitor experiences rather than simply new tourism products?
Thank you very much, Arnaud. Good morning to everybody. I'm here in the double role of project manager of this important project supported by Interreg program, Euromed, this Inspire project that was promoted by the municipality of Messina with different European countries all around the Mediterranean area. Also, I'm here as Deputy Mayor for Tourism of Taormina Municipality. As you know, Taormina is one of the most touristic places in the south of Italy and also in the Mediterranean area. And with this project Inspire, we would like to match together two different ways to do tourism in the area of the province of Messina, because of course the biggest place for tourists is Taormina and the area of Etna, because we are just near to Etna volcano. And a lot of tourists, when come in our area, come to visit Taormina because it's the best destination to visit, of course. But there are a lot of small towns along the beach from Taormina to Messina, that is our city, is the door of Sicily. especially if you come by car or by ferry boat, that are very small realities. We have the smallest towns in the south of Italy, just 232 inhabitants. So you can understand, it's just on the hill, so you can understand how difficult it is for a tourist to discover this place and to know that exists this place in which there are biodiversity very, very interesting. So what is the challenge for Taormina, but also supported by Inspire project, is to create different touristic routes, not the traditional routes, but a new way to discover the territory in order to keep the tourists arriving in Messina by cruise, for example, or in Taormina, to go to visit other destinations in the territories. We are creating with the Inspire project and with the tool of Living Labs the possibility to put together in the same table the different actors of the territory with an animation actions to co-design new routes to discover and to live the territory, because we would like not to create a product to put in the economy circle to sell to the tourists, but we would like to give the possibility to the tourists to live the territories and to be protagonists of the experience.
Okay, thank you. We can continue with the moderated exchange. So as you were already talking about agrobiodiversity, food systems, and agriculture, I have a question for you, Rafael and Beatrice. How do agrobiodiversity, food systems, and agricultural landscapes make regeneration concrete for visitors and local communities? You already tackled a bit this, but I would like to delve a bit deeper on that.
Well, in our system, it's everybody's systems, because everyone depends on agricultural production. We should see better and best familiar agriculture and traditional agriculture, because they are authentic. They have been doing that for centuries. And in these systems, biodiversity is one of the main features that they have. They live related to the territory. They protect the territory. They are every day conserving the territory, and conserving that, they are promoting conserving the biodiversity. If they are not there, biodiversity disappears, maybe. So what we try to do, we want to give value to the work that everybody in this kind of system is doing. The value of the product yet is not enough to give value to the agricultural production. Let me say, if we are speaking about, for example, I will give you an example, in the Malaga racing GIA site, which is located in Malaga, in the south of Spain, producers elaborate one kind of raisin coming from Moscatel grapes, and they cultivated them in very steep slopes, where no other crop could be cultivated, and they are doing that for centuries. They harvest by hand because they cannot have any machinery. They do it by hand, not only the production, but also the dryness and the picking of the bunch in order to sell them. And all this work has not reflected in the final value of the product. But not only that work, but also what is around this production system, the culture that they have, the lexicon that they have developed, the way of life that they built during centuries, and everything. And even they are creating ecosystemic services, for example, the conservation of the biodiversity. So biodiversity is part of the value that they are generating. So we try to let people go in there to know about that. And their contribution to the system is also part to conserve the biodiversity. So it's a key issue, because biodiversity is part of the ecosystemic values that they are building every day.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Beatrice? Do you have something to add in the discussion?
Yes, of course, because our territory is very typical because we stay along the beach, of course, in long beaches from Catania to Messina, but our territory is characterized by the possibility to arrive in a few minutes on the hills and the mountains, in which there are ecosystem totally different of the ecosystem of the beach, of the sea, of course. So for the tourist, it's very interesting to arrive and to enjoy of different experience on the beach. It's possible, for example, to go to have the hunting of swordfish in the street of Messina. That is a traditional way to fish in our area. And there are generation to preserve this kind of hunting. It's not fishing, it's hunting. The same is just here, and it's possible to arrive in the Peloritani mountains to, for example, to do a bird watching, to visit vineyards, to go inside the lemon trees and to discover different kind of lemon that are autochthones, are typical of the area. So it's possible to preserve agrobiodiversity of this ecosystem, giving to the tourists the possibility to give an experience, not only to visit the beauties, architectonical beauties of the cities, but also to go inside these specific ecosystem realities in order to enjoy of the different experiences. For example, in this period arrive most tourists coming from United States, because there is the direct flight from New York and now from Canada. And especially the tourists coming from the United States would like to discover the places. They arrive, they rent a car in the airport, and they go alone to discover the territory. So it's important not only to offer the main street of Taormina is full of many brands, but you can find the brand, the famous brand all around the world. But to go in the Peloritani Hills, to have the possibility to talk with the farmers, to discover different specificity is very important for a tourist, because when he come back home, he didn't bring also a postcard of the place, but give the feeling of the place with them.
Okay, thank you. I have another question for you, Blanca and Silvia. So what has to change in destination governance and narratives if biodiversity is not just an asset to protect, but a system that tourism should help regenerate?
In our case, in our case, in the Regenerative format, well, we are now working in 6 pilots, okay, in the Mediterranean, in the region of Split Dalmatia, in Abruzzo, in Liguria, in Crete, in Catalonia, and in Corsica, okay? And in this, there are 2 that maybe are a little bit more advanced. That is the one in Liguria, and the one in Catalonia, in our case, is in La Scala, that is in La Costa Brava, is a small fishing village. No, that was in the past. Now it's another destination, a tourist destination, very well known in La Costa Brava. So the point is really relevant and important is the governance, what we realize. So there, the governance is very important, and also to have a vulnerability plan. Thanks to this vulnerability plan that we realize in the different pilots, we realize how important and how is the situation of each and the reality of each destination. This we share with the community. I'm going to explain just a few minutes from the pilot of La Scala. In this governance, when we're talking about regenerative, we were thinking about the 5 helix governance, but we try to move forward to the 8 helix governance. That means, and I have to write it down because I always forget some helix, that is nature, the representative from the nature sector, from the culture as well, very important, the resident, the private sector, the SMEs, the third sector, the academic sector, the tourism and the administrative, the public administrative sector as well. They should be there. So in La Scala, in this village, what we did is to invite this different representative from the society. Of course, not in every place is everybody, but we made just a new group of people leading with the tourist office as well of the place. So with them we start to work and to teach about and to do some capacity building about what is regenerative tourism. Then we start with the co-ideation. In this moment we are in the co-ideation, then we will go to the co-creation to get regenerative experiences. What happens? People that live there, they realize the potential they have as a community if they trust and they work together, to work jointly. They sit together people that they never sit together. They have business. Also, there was a boat, sailing boat business. There was another one, was a private health hospital. There was people from different, residents of La Scala. And they never sit together and see what they would really like to live for La Scala in the future as well, because when we're talking about regenerative, we are talking about the future and the legacy of the place is what we live for the society. So they start to work together. We are in this process now. That's why I say governance is very important, because to arrive to this point. And if you want, I leave it here.
Yes, sure. So now that you're talking about governance, and I believe that's an important point to tackle in the conversation as well, because it's a necessary change so that regeneration can work. Would maybe the others like to add something about this? So like, who must be at the table for biodiversity positive tourism? DMOs, environmental agencies, museums, who must be in there? Like, do you have any contribution to what Blanca said? What do you think is relevant to, who should participate into the process to make the transformation happen?
I can add the perspective of the Veneto region as a regional public authority. We have the opportunity and also the responsibility to design strategies that then can become policies to give, for instance, to museums or also to other important players or institutions at the local level, their role to change tourism. We did this, for instance, with the Med4Region strategy, in which we first of all worked with our stakeholders, with local communities. We collected their needs, and these needs become the basis for the strategy. So with a project like Med4Region, but thanks to the Interreg projects, public authorities can reach stakeholders and build strategies based on the needs of the local communities, and this is very, very important for institutions that work in tourism, and also for us as a cultural department. It's important to work at cross-sectoral level and in a systemic way with also other departments, not only tourism but also education. Education is one aspect, tourism education, that is very, very important for our work, and we consider museums, institutions, and actors that can give a valuable contribution in tourism education.
Okay, thank you. Rafael?
Yeah, for us, for our kind of systems, for this agricultural heritage system, governance is a real challenge, Also, institutionalizing tools and strategies, as Mark has already showed, what kind of outcomes come from this project, and we can take them in order to make them use from the policymakers. I think that governance and institutionalizing these kind of tools is relevant, because we are talking about very complex systems, although they are very little systems. They have low critical mass. They are very, very small compared with big agricultural system in which agricultural policies, European agricultural policies fall and give funds and help and so on. They are not designed for this kind of small agricultural system. So they are somehow, there are no, there is no help enough for this kind of places. So they have to build things from bottom up. The first is the recognition, as Gia said. This is not a strategic plan that comes from top down. There is no region that says you have to develop a strategic plan in your territory. This is the need of the territory to build something for them. So they are aware that working together is a need. They do it every day during centuries, but we need that policymakers, institutions do the same. They need to be together because we are talking about nature, tourism, agriculture, culture, water management, and many issues. So we have to put them in the same table to speak the same in order to get the benefit for them, because otherwise they don't have the help that they need. And in terms of institutionalization, I think that we, maybe now, maybe in the very close future, we have a lot of tools in order to help policymakers to put these tools in order to help these kind of communities to grow.
Okay, thank you. And Beatrice, maybe you would like to add some indicators that help you prove that regeneration was actually working in your project?
Yes, about your questions, of course, with the Inspire project, we would like to support the different municipality, not only of Messina, of the city of Messina, but also the municipality around the area to create new tools, and the Living Labs is the powerful tools to create this permanent table of dialogue between the policymakers to the different stakeholders of the territories in order to create and to find a new way to manage the tourism in the area. Of course, the governance is our challenge because the problem of the area, and especially of the to the city of Messina and Taormina in a special way, is to manage the crowded period of tourism during the summertime, but there is a period during the year in which there are not tourists. Also in the city of Taormina arrived in 2025 like 1,500,000 tourists in a city that is 9,000 inhabitants. So it's very, very difficult to manage this invasion of tourism. And with the city of Messina, we are discussing about to support better the local public transport in order to give the possibility to people to arrive by bus and not by car, because this creates a congestion of the center of the city, and it's impossible to find so many parking for a lot of tourists. So the governance and the discussion, a permanent discussion with the different actors of the territories, for us is the very important thing. So it's the challenges in order to fight against the over-tourism, to create a real destagionalization during all the months of the year. And it's possible to create not only one destination like a physical places, but also to create cultural offers to the people coming in our area, and to support the agricultural system in order to create a different possibility to experience the territory when people come.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. We have a few minutes, well, a few seconds left, but if somebody among the audience would like to ask a question to our panelists, after talking so much about regeneration, I think that it's really relevant that the audience can also contribute with their thoughts about the topic.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I'm Francisco Benitez from the Ministry of Tourism of Andalusia. My question is for Silvia about museums and what happens with museums nowadays, because our experience is that museums have been part of the experience of the neighbors and the citizens since we were kids. We used to visit museums in primary school and all that stuff, but now it's like they belong to the tourist. And it's kind of there is a lack of communication between museums and the neighbors and the citizens. So any way that we can reverse that situation and give them back to the neighbors? I don't know if it's in Benito region, you have any experience about that and any tips? Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yes, we are here really in the core of our process, and with the capacity building, we will guide partners and the associated partners that are 8 museums and heritage organizations like M9 Museum in Mestre, that is a contemporary historical museum. We have UNESCO sites, we have intangible heritage organizations, so we have a very rich background of cultural resources and the typologies of museums and heritage that we can activate with the project. And with our pilot action, we are guiding these partners to create some experiences and practices developed with the communities. For instance, one is the reverse guide tour. So the museum work with the local communities like kids from primary schools or other parts of the district to create an experience for visitors, giving the insight and the point of view of the community that live in that place. So this is an example of a tool that we are exploring with the capacity building, so giving to the museums the design tools to map the territory in a systemic way, to bring the theory, the mapping to the action. And so we try to design these types of instruments. But of course, we just started the capacity building and the definition of these tools to work with the communities. And I hope that in the next few months we can have first very concrete results to tell you about.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, there is no more time for questions. I would like to thank the panelists. I would like to thank our moderator. And thank you for being here. So the rest of the questions can be asked through the coffee break that is taking place outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone.